You're very welcome to Be Out in the Cottage. This is a little video which includes quite a few different elements, from what's been happening around the back of the cottage and the gravel, a visit to Strand Hill and the Atlantic Ocean, and then the very strange thing that happened last week, proving to me that coincidence just does not exist. I never thought it did. Enjoy the video. What a beautiful day it's been. And what a beautiful evening it's turning into. I'm going to do a little bit of a walk and talk and show you how the garden's developing, because you know, of course, this used to be an old shed and turned it into a pergola, and I've spread the gravel, and I've moved the potager beds that were up there, and I've put all the stones around the front and created a little woodland edge garden. So I'll show you some of that now. I've just come back actually from Carrick-on-Shannon. I've been into my printers in Carrick-on-Shannon and just overseeing the reprint of Walking Between Worlds. And I think this is the second reprint, or it may be the third. I'm not too sure. Difficult to keep up with these things. But it was great just finally getting it into the printers and handing over the entire script to Aidan, wonderful guy at the printers who does some sterling work. But anyway, without further ado, I'll take you on a little walk. We'll just go around the cottage first of all, because I can't believe just how quickly everything's coming together. You know, the spring is look at this, look. Muscari. And little narcissi at the back. Yeah, the spring is definitely here. Well, of course, it arrives here in the west of Ireland on the first day of February, which is Imach. And that's part of the old Celtic calendar, which is a solar calendar. Follows the stars, the sun, the moon. Seems to be much more sensible than the man-made calendar. But anyway, okay. Look at that sky and the clouds. Isn't it beautiful? It was wonderful reading all your comments. Lots and lots of you left comments on the video previous to the last one. I think there was about 600 comments or something. And I think about 400 on the previous video. Thank you for that, because it's lovely to read comments from subscribers who are genuinely interested, as you are, with everything that I do here and the way in which all this has been developed from what was very rushy, barren fields, you know, just waterlogged, badly poached by cattle and covered in rushes. Quite, well, appeared to be quite infertile. Now look at this little garden. I mean, isn't this amazing? My son, who was up the other day, said, this looks as though it's been here forever. And maybe in a parallel universe, it is. So, on the last video, I said that I'd received something, and there was something quite extraordinary happened, which indeed it did. Now, first of all, before I begin, every so often there's a little bleep, and that's from my smoke alarm up there that I think is faulty. So excuse that. Okay, so last week I went to the post box at the bottom of the drive, and there was 2 envelopes in there. One envelope was from Ireland and one was from America, the United States of. What was in the envelopes was extraordinary, and I don't know what the chances of this happening are, but I'm sure they must be millions and millions to one. As you know, I do not believe in coincidence. In the first envelope, the brown one from my brother, was a whole bundle of papers regarding Great Granny Baxter. Now, my great-grandmother, Mary Ann Higgins Baxter, lived in a thatched cottage on the Derry Road in Omagh. I have posted the photograph up some time ago on my website, and indeed some years ago on my YouTube site. So alongside this, I think it's 4 or 5 pages of information about my great granny Baxter, because my brother Phelim is researching the family history. There was a card with a photograph on the front, and the photograph is a painting of my great grandmother's cottage on the Derry Road in Omagh, the last thatched cottage in the townland of Omagh. And it's from one of my subscribers who has become quite a dear friend. He's been a subscriber for a very long time, and he's called Mike, and he's from Portland in Oregon, USA. Now, Mike and I converse via Patreon because he's also one of my patrons. And I'll read a little bit of what he has said, because of course I messaged him and I wanted to tell him the extraordinary thing that happened. Oh, excuse my hands, I've been working in the garden. Now, first of all, this is an extraordinary painting. This is just a photograph of the painting, okay? Mike is actually sending the painting to me. I think it's extraordinary. But I want to read you a little bit about what he says. Just a card of thanks for all you do. I do a lot of painting, mostly portraits and people. But I saw the image on the card on one of your older videos of your great-grandmother's now torn down croft, and I saw an energy there, so wanted to paint it. I saw in my head an older woman at the gate. And though I usually paint people, in this case I brought a star out of the sky to represent the energy I sensed at the gate. There's the star. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when I'm outside, where I feel free to talk. Now, for some time, I felt a very strong sense of my great-grandmother in and around the cottage. I was a little bit baffled as to why I kept thinking about her. Couldn't quite understand, and I still don't quite understand. But I wanted to share this story with you because a lot of people will want to believe that there is something beyond this experience that we're having here as humans. I know there is. I simply know. And I don't question that knowing. And I don't need to have evidence. But when something as strong a message as this comes through, which is obviously coming from my great-grandmother, I'm open to it. Now I'm waiting. I'm waiting for whatever it is. They say things come in threes. Well, I'm waiting for whatever it is to come to me. It seems so strange now, but I know that when the third piece of this message drops into this life, I won't have to question it at all. You know, life is stranger than fiction. And if you think that if this was part of a film that you were watching, you'd say, well, that's a bit beyond belief. All I can say with certainty, and this is something I've said over and over again in videos and on my website, there is no such thing as coincidence. My grandmother always said, as you go through life, there are signs. Most people ignore the signs. But Colette, look for the signs, they're there. They will show you the way. This is one of the old standing stones. It was dug out of the land where the pond is now. And about a third to a quarter of it is below the soil. So there's been a very interesting development here at NO Cottage. The pregnant vixen that I filmed when the snow was out. Do you remember when it was snowing here? And the vixen came along and she did look rather fat. And yeah, she's going to be having her cubs. Now, from what I can gather so far, she has made a den somewhere down there in the fairy wood. How do I know? Well, various signs, because I walk the land each day. I put food out for her every night, just up there between the steps and the front door. And I've seen her a couple of times. The food is always gone, by the way. I'm very happy that the Vixen has settled here, and I do hope that she stays and she has her cubs. I think that would just be so wonderful to be able to see a little family of foxes here at Old Cottage. Now I'll just take you up here to where I think her den is very close. Okay, do you see in this little area here? I'm having to walk between brambles and the like. Yeah, just in here. Look. See, it's all flattened. Now, there's quite a lot of spots along this bank here. Let's see if I can do some close-ups. It's an old stone wall, and I think there's various places along there which could lend itself very well to a den. Below this and every video, in the description box, you'll find details of where you can buy my books, which are sold only from the Old Cottage website. I don't upload anything to Amazon. Everything is printed here in Ireland on recycled paper and posted from my local village post office of Ballyfarnan. You'll also find links to Patreon if you want to support me on Patreon. €3 per month, and you have access to everything I put into Patreon. Blessings, and thank you for supporting the Bealtaine project. And it's my pleasure to share it with you. A little view of Old Cottage when I first bought the cottage, and this was the land looking up from the road and the land looking down from the cottage. Blessings to you all.